Why was it not on? So weird. So weird that it wasn't on. Okay, sorry about that. Very strange. Uh, my audio software, which comes from my NVIDIA card, is almost always on, and I'm not sure why. A couple of past shows now, it's like not been on for some reason. I haven't restarted the machine either, so weird, but that's okay. Anyway, let's start that over again. Good morning. Welcome to my shop. You're in JR's wood shop. I'm Jeff, and I make stuff, mostly wood stuff in my shop, and I've got some stuff to share with you today. I'm in the middle of a project, and it's a multi-part project. It takes a long time to finish. That's the difference between watching a live stream like this and watching videos on YouTube that, you know, are finished and edited and such, is that you get to, when you edit, you cut out all the boring stuff and just leave in the juicy bits. Well, this is all the boring stuff included. So you get that. So you get to see me do things like, you know, multiple times using a hand plane to flatten a board, or sanding a board, or gluing boards and stuff. And while I've made short content, it doesn't really reflect the true kind of stuff that goes on in the shop. And so when I started this this live stream, which credit to my son, who said, you should live stream yourself in the shop. And I was like, well, that's really why. And he's like, oh, you know, people might watch. So that's why I'm here, because people might watch and you might have questions or want to learn something or anything else. And so I figured, you know, as long as I'm in here, that way I can talk to myself, but pretend I'm talking to someone else. And that way I look a little less crazy, just a little bit. So let me bring you up to speed on what happened on Monday, if you weren't here. I'm making two different style of bases, and these are sewing machine bases. These are made for antique sewing machines. I have one here. I'll show you in just a second. These are made for antique sewing machines. People like to put them on here and sew with the machines, or just display their machines because they're very proud of their antique machines. And so I make lovely little bases for them to do that with. And it's a kind of a little niche, however you want to say that word, area to work in, but it does me well. It kind of has a lot of good basic woodworking skills involved. I mean, if you're gonna make any type of like a box, like jewelry boxes or whatever, all these little things that I'm doing here kind of fit into that kind of skill set. And so I've evolved a process over the past couple of years that I've been doing this, these bases, and I've got it down to, I won't say a science, but a pretty good process here. So this is just a standard base. Let me just show you this. This is a standard base right here. It's not finished yet. I will put in like pieces like this, which are little triangular pieces. They'll go in the corners, like down here. You can see that. Let me show you. You go change cameras here. So you can see that this little triangular piece right here, not having good luck here. So anyway, this little triangular piece right here would fit, like say down in the corner. There will be 4 of them, and then the sewing machine will sit on top. Now actually, I have 3 of them here, I think. They're not cut to size for this base, so it won't look perfect. But, in fact, I'm short 1, but these came from a different machine set. But anyway, when it's done, what will happen is a machine like this will then be able to sit inside on those little corners. And actually, those fit really well. You can't see that because my computer's in the way. Let's go back to this camera right here, and you can see a little better. So this is basically what, get things out of the way here. This is what it would look like. And they would sit on those little posts in the corner. The machine will sit up here. Now, this is not finished. I haven't rounded the edges. I do a lot of things to this to make it look really pretty and nice when it's done. But this, in essence, is what it would look like. And then, like I said, they can either have it as a display, or they can actually sew with it. This is a hand crank on the back side here. This is my daughter's sewing machine, so I have to be careful with it. Try not to get it too dusty, dirty in here. which is almost an impossibility in this place. But anyway, I use this to size up. This usually stays in the house. I have one here that is a larger one, which is typically, I make a larger size. So this is what we would call a 3/4 size machine. And, I was kind of stuck there. This is a full size machine. So you can see much larger than the little one here. It's much larger. But this is the one I use normally for sizing things up. But I have this little guy right here because I'm making some 3/4 bases because I had a lot of requests for them. Now, I make 2 styles of bases usually. And as you can see, this thing doesn't, you need a box or a base because otherwise it's all tippy. It doesn't have feet that it sets on. So you kind of have to have a base. In the old bases that these things came in, you know, after 100 years or so, they don't work so well. So I make new ones for people. This base right here is the other style that I make, and it has a center compartment right here where your machine goes, and then it has a side compartment that'll have a lid on there, and that's just some place where you can store accessories and bobbins and thread and whatever. But let me put these back in here and see, so you can see it in here. But it's really nice because it just adds a little bit of a new dimension to that machine. There you go, nice and pretty. So you can see it sitting in there. This will have a lid on it and makes it nice and flat so that if you wanted to, you could actually turn this around and sew with that compartment in front. Boop. It's back heavy, so there's not a post here, so I have to hold it down here. But if you have it turned this way, then you have a little deck right here that you have extra room to run fabric through and stuff. So anyway, that's the 2 styles of machines that machine bases that I make. So right now in the process, these, like I said, these are almost done. I need corners in there. We need to do some finishing work on stuff. There's not a lot left to do with those. These, on the other hand, there's a lot to do because that storage compartment adds a whole bunch of steps to the process. For one thing, you'll notice that it has a center divider. So that's what I put in the other day, was a center divider. And I glue those in. And then I have to flatten them because I leave them just a little proud, which means they stick up past this area right here. So they sit up a little bit. So once I get them glued in, then I flatten them, which is what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to flatten them. I flattened 2 of them already. I've got 2 more to flatten, and I do that with a hand plane. So I cut them down so that they're just a little bit above. I use my table saw for that, and then I glue them in. There's a little bit sticking up. I use my hand plane to finish it off, and I get this top nice and flat. Then after they're flattened, we go over to the router table. I put my rabbet bit in. The rabbet makes a little groove. It cuts a little groove all the way around the interior of that compartment, right around the top edge, which will give me a groove just like this. So instead of having a big groove where the bottom went in, I'll have a small groove, and then I will cut a custom lid to go into there. And then that lid will get flattened down so it's the exact flush, you know, height as the rest of the base here. So that's where I'm at now. These are all glued in. I have 2 more. I've already flattened a couple of them, so I'll show you. So here's one that's already been flattened. So you can see that this edge is flat and runs nice and flat with the rest of it. So I have these 2 to flatten. I have this one and another. These are walnut. So I have to flatten these. And once they're flattened, then I have to go, like I said, then I have to go and take them over to the router table, and we're going to route out the thing. The other thing I did off camera yesterday, when I was not live streaming, was I created wood to use as the lids for these particular bases. And the way I do that, because I normally don't have a piece of wood that is wide enough to cut the lid out of, because these are cut into like 3-inch wide sections. Like here's a piece of walnut that's 3 inches wide, which is how tall the sides are, right? But the storage compartments are wider than 3 inches. So I need a piece of wood that's about at least 4.5 inches wide. So the way I do that is I resaw the wood, which basically means I would take, like, let's use this for example. I would take this piece of wood, I would measure across here, and then I would draw a line down the center of that, take it over to my bandsaw, run it through like this, and split this wood in half. When I do that, you open it up like this, and then glue those pieces together. That's called book matching. Book matching does some really cool stuff. Let me get this out of the way for the moment. I need to put this somewhere where it's not going to get banged up. Gently set it down. Okay, so book matching does some really cool stuff. So I book matched 3 different pieces of wood here. One in sycamore. So this is a piece of sycamore that is going to go into that lighter color base right here. So this one needs a lid that will be sycamore, so it matches the wood type. It has, so you can see how when let me do this camera. So you can see when I actually did this, it gives you, it's kind of like a Rorschach, right? It's equal sort of on each side, right? Looks kind of cool. But it has these marks in there and stuff. It's kind of an interesting thing with that grain of that particular wood. What I want to show you is the walnut ones that I did, because I had some figured walnut, and it's from the same board that these walnut bases were cut out of, but this end of the board was quite figured, and it does some really cool stuff. So let me flip this one over, and I'm going to wipe it down with some naphtha, because that really accentuates it, cleans it, but it also kind of brings that wood grain to life. So here's one, and you can see what that looks like. I mean, it's just really beautiful. And then here is the other piece. Let me get a little bit more naphtha on here. And what I will do is I will cut, well, I have enough for 4, I only need 2. But you can see the wood grain on here is just really cool. What I will do is I will cut these down to the size that I need. I'll cut the edges off of it so I get one that's 4.5 inches wide. And keep this stripe right here where they were glued together. That will actually be in the center. And then it gives a really nice kind of a uniform look to it. It's, yeah, this is just a really cool looking piece of wood. So that's what book matching is. And you get this really very balanced, equal on each side of the center seam kind of look. And so these turned out really nice. This one needs to go through the planer. I planed this one down already. This one needs to go through the planer so that I got this side flat, and then I need to get this side down a little bit so that it's much thinner, because doing this with a hand plane would take me forever. The planer is much easier. I need them to be about 1/4 inch. So this one also needs to go through the planer. It's been through once, but I need to plane this down a little bit more so I get it about 1/4 inch. But it also just, I mean, it's a really cool looking kind of thing. And when you have these cut down and stuff and they match on the sides, and it's just, yeah, I really like book matching. Especially when you get interesting grain patterns like these, where it just looks balanced and symmetrical on each side. I mean, there's a little variance in there, but it's usually pretty symmetrical, and it just gives a really cool kind of an upscaled look to a project. And so, you know, it's what the little things that make your stuff worth more. I can just cut a piece of wood and put it in there, but book matching it, getting a book match piece of wood, now that is even better. All right, this one sticks up. I need to get it down. So what do? Well, we're going to start with my hand plane here. And I'm going to go ahead and plane this. Let's see if I got a better view here. Do I have a better view here? Now you can sort of see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start planing this down. Now, when I put this piece of wood in here, let me look at the grain, the way the grain is flowing on this thing. You don't want to cut these against the grain. So when I inserted them, I did it so that hopefully the grain is kind of tilted up like this, so that when I come across it, I'm just slicing the top of it off. And I can do it on my kind of the right side here. And I'm getting nice long, so you can see I'm getting nice long, even little curly cues here. And I just dump them off into the box until I'm done here. But the whole process is just me doing this until I get this down. Now the sides will guide me so I know exactly when I have reached the edge. And actually the sound that the plane makes as it goes across grain instead of with the grain, you can tell, you're like, oh, okay, it's flat enough. Anyway, it's kind of just moving through here. I try not to leave that piece too long. Yeah, see, I could hear the little difference in the sound. So I went across this side piece. So I want to be careful. I don't want to cut into the side and make a groove into this side piece of wood. So I'm low enough now, just a little bit higher here. So I'll start my cuts a little bit further in. Almost there. And I'm using the edge of this to kind of keep me flattened. So I get it right down to the same level as this. Because if I'm sitting flat on here, this won't cut. It'll only cut the high parts. So I think we're flush right there. That last little piece. There we go. All right, this one's flush. And I've got, a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to toss that in the garbage. And now this one is good to go. And you can see those are really nice and flat. The only other thing I might do with these is flatten these edges up top here. If I've got a little bit of well, I've got it here and I've got the plane, just kind of make sure that all these edges are flat. And that feels pretty good. Okay. And I mean, all this stuff is going to get sanded in the end, but if I've got a slightly high edge or whatever, it's better to take care of it now than to worry about it later. That didn't do good. So wood can fool you sometimes in its direction, where it looks like the grain's going one way, but it's really not. All right, I think we're good here. Let me get this one cleaned up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, I think all of the sides are clean here now. So we can move on to the last one that needs to be done. Let me just dump these shavings out. Kind of challenging. I have a fan back over here. And so as I go to dump the shavings, it wants to go over here. What's this camera look like over here? You can get a different view this time. And hopefully the grain direction will cooperate on this one as well. Yep. And really what I'm wanting is a nice smooth cut across the top. If you're going against the grain, you'll know it almost instantly because it'll dig in and you will get a super rough, almost like a tearing feel to it. You definitely do not want to be tearing your wood grain because it's super hard to fix. You have to remove more wood, maybe more than you want to. So it's really important to get that grain direction right when you start planing. Alrighty. Okay, and I have live chat windows, so if you all, anybody wants to ask a question or pop in and say hey, I try to monitor that really well. I don't always keep a good eye on it, but I try to. So if you are here and you want to say hi, or you got a question, feel free to ask, and I will try to monitor that as best as possible. I do stream on 3 different platforms at the same time. So I'm on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. So you may not see, if I get a question, I usually repeat it because you don't necessarily always see it on the platform that you're on. So that's good. I need to clean this off just a little bit here. And this one's going the other direction. So let's try this. So a little bit of glue on the top there too. If I can get rid of that, I'm happy. There we go. That is nice and flat. And you know, one of the big reasons I need this flat is that I'm going to be turning it upside down and putting it on the router table. So it's going to basically be turned upside down like this and then moved around the router bit. Well, if this isn't flat, I'm going to get an uneven lip in here for my lids. So I want it to be as even as possible. Let me check the edge over here. This isn't bad. Let me just kind of clean this edge up right here. There we go. And get this one just, there we go. Nice and clean. Super clean. All right. That's basically it for these, for flattening these. So these are all now nice and flat along through here. So the next part is going to be over at the router table over here. Let me move some stuff around because we got to set this up. I didn't do this ahead of time. I got to move these out. These are, like I said, almost done, these big ones here. So I'm going to move these out of the way for right now. Just set them aside. Not a lot of room in the shop. See, I've got a camera set over here for my router table. That's a big zoom. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. Let me go a little bit wider here. There we go. A little bit wider there. You set this over here. And what we're going to do is take this plate off. I may actually have the rabbet bit in there already because I don't see it here. So it's probably already installed. So I'm just going to take this plate off of here, put on, yep, and I'm going to put on a new plate that will give me access to that blade when I raise it up. So I just stick this little thing in here and start raising the level. I'm going to put this on. Actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to clean out some dust out of here because it's a wee bit dusty inside there. And getting the dust out just kind of makes sure that everything's sitting flat and level like it's supposed to. So just kind of like to do that every now and then. Lock this in. All right, now what we need to do is we need to figure out how high this bit comes in here. This bit is the rabbeting bit. Typically, I will use something like this. If I'm doing the bottom of the base, I'll do something like this because I'm going to be fitting this in there. But I'm not doing a base bottom this time. I'm doing the lids. And I need to figure out how thick I want that lid to be. Usually, like I said, it's about 1/4 of an inch. Quarter's a little thin, so maybe just a little bit taller than 1/4. And one of the things I have to do is make sure that my wood is going to be thick enough that I'm using for the lids to accommodate for that. So I think this one's more than thick. This is the one that would worry me. But I think this one's like right on that edge of being able to be used. I'm going to take this, I'm going to make it just a little bit lower, because honestly, I really want this to be, you don't want to go too thin because then it gets too weak. You don't want your top to be weak, your lid, it needs to hold up. I think that's about good. Seems pretty good right there. And I'm going to get just a piece of wood, and I will run a test piece through here, just a block of wood, just to make sure that I'm getting the thickness that I want. All right, so take this out, and I got to plug in my power for the router. And I'm just going to put my dust collection up here. It doesn't really, I'm going to have the box lid over top of it, so there won't really be a lot of dust flying around, but it's always just good to have it up here just in case, because like for right now, I'm going to be sending dust flying everywhere. So, all right, let's do a test cut and see how thick we are here, or how deep this blade is set. Okay, and let me just clean this. Got some fuzzes here, and to get the accurate measurement, I'm going to get rid of the fuzz. Okay, so I'm going to take my my setup here and just stick it in here and see that I'm actually a little taller than I need to be, a little deeper. So I'm going to lower this just a tiny bit. I don't even know if you can see that, but I'm looking in there, and I mean, it looks like it from where you're sitting probably, but it's just like maybe a 64th or so too deep. So I'm just going to bring it down just a tiny bit. And there we go, just right there. Okay. So now what we need is our bases. The other thing I can do is, before I do that, is I'm going to use my marking gauge, set that up so that I can get an accurate line drawn on the inside of these things. Hang on a second. How is that not right? That's right. Okay. So I'm going to draw the line with my marking gauge. I'm just going to go inside and just drag this across, maybe. And that helps to cut the fibers on the line where the bit's going to travel. And that just keeps chip out from happening, tear out. Tear out's always a concern when you're using a router bit. You never want to have tear out if you can avoid it. So that just cuts the fibers along the inside. All right. The other thing is, you have to kind of reverse when you're doing the inside of something. You have to go the opposite way that you normally would go. So the blade turns counterclockwise. which means its cutting edge is always kind of coming in this way. So you always want to go against the cutting edge. So I will pull it this way, down, over, and back. And you kind of want to figure that out beforehand. It just really helps a lot. So let's do this. So hopefully you can see, you know, 1/4 of an inch of wood, that's a lot of wood that you're taking off there. And so I do it in 2 passes. I don't ever try to do it in just 1 pass. But the result is, let me get over here and show you a little bit better. So the result is we get a very nice rabbet cut. Now there's some rough edges. It's going to need a little sandpaper cleanup and stuff in here. But honestly, this is a really nice cut. We didn't get any tear out in here. So really nice lid. And I can use that now, the measurement of that cut, to actually cut my lids so that they accurately fit inside here, because I try to get them pretty darn close to fitting in there. But let's go ahead and do this part. Get this other one cut here. I do find, I didn't used to do this, but I find that it really does prevent the chip out that you get sometimes. So I try to do it pretty regularly now. All right, let's do number 2. Sycamore is a really nice, it's kind of a softer wood. It's not too hard. So it usually cuts pretty well. But this stuff, because it's quarter sawn, the quarter sawn stuff can kind of do some weird stuff every now and then. But the effect of having quarter sawn, the actual look of the wood grain itself is worth it. That didn't move, did it? I think so. Okay, let's do this one. I'm just looking, it looks like, I think this end is a little high down here. So I'm gonna, when I have it here, I've got just a little bit of a lip right there. I think I need to just run my plane across here really quickly. So give me a second here. We're gonna just hop over here. So much stuff in the way. I'm gonna hop over here and just clean this out really quickly. This edge right here, because it seems like it's a little high. And remember, we want this to be really flat. There we go. We want it to be really flat so that when we're cutting these, and these aren't actually great either. Let me just clean this side up here too, because there's some glue up here, and the little glue bits do not help at all. You want that lid rabbet cut to be as flat as it can possibly be. There we go. That is nice, flat, all the way around. That's much better. I'd rather take, what was that, you know, like a minute or less and get that cleaned up and flattened than have to try to fix it later. But now that fits really nice and flat on my table here. So much better than it was. All right. All right, and this got little fuzzes too, so I'm just gonna clean the fuzzes off of these really quickly. I didn't switch cameras, did I? I'm sorry. You could sort of see me. That's the right camera. That's right. Anyway, just kind of cleaning these up, just get the fuzz off of them so I can make sure that they look good. But once again, it's another nice, clean, you know, rabbet cut around the inside. That'll give us exactly what we need for a lid. And we've got one more to do. Then we can move on to actually getting the lids done. So this part was pretty short. Once you get it set up, you just kind of roll right through them. Did I already do this one? I marked this one once. That was weird. Oh, never mind. Stupid. All right. We are good to go. Last one. All right. Okay. That is perfect. Really good. And excuse me, depth-wise, we're right there at that 3/4 of an inch mark, or 1/4 of an inch mark. This one's fine. All right. Just knocking things off. Okay, I'm going to lower this down while I'm still here, and just get it out of the way so that I don't hit the bit and damage the bit or scratch a piece of wood or something like that. It's always good to just get those bits lowered down out of the way. And then I'll put my little flat cover on there, just to kind of keep things from dropping in. Let me clean this out a little bit. Okay. Now we can start stacking our bases back up here again. And what we need to do now is go turn our attention back to these pieces of wood right here, because we need to get these. Now this one right here this one's flattened on both sides. So this one's already been through the planer and flattened down to the point where it doesn't need any more work. We're just gonna cut our section out of here when it gets down time to making a lid. This one, on the other hand, still has rough wood on the backside. So you can see that this right here is all, those are like sawmill saw marks and stuff. That's still very rough wood. This part, not too bad, but there's unevenness here, and this part is super flat and smooth, but this part not so much. So we need to run this through the planer and get it down a little bit. This one's just a little thick, and I think we can take this through the planer as well and get it down a little closer. Like I said, I don't want them to be super thin, but they need to be thinner than what they are right now. And then we will start cutting them down to size. We'll do that over at the, we will cut them down to size using the table saw and the saw behind me over here. So we can get the length and then the width to the correct size. But right now I need to get them down to thickness, which means I need to go over here and use my, my planer. It's still kind of set up. I don't know if I have a camera. Let me go back to this camera. We'll just kind of pull a wide shot here for you. And let me fix the angle on it a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to, let's go to this camera right here. We'll pull this camera up and we'll just pull it around here. And then it'll give you a better view. As I pull the planer over here, I was going to put it away and I was like, you know what? I better leave it out. I think I'm going to have more to do. And I was correct. I do have more to do. So I'm going to slide in my little table. And I actually have one piece of wood that I want to run through here that's not related yet, but I'm going to be making corners out of this. So you can see how this has an angled cut on here. I'm going to cut that straight, and that'll give me a length of wood that I can use as to cut the little corner pieces. But it's still rough on the bottom. So this side's been done. I'm just going to run it through and get this cleaned off first. But before I do that, I need to grab power for this and hook up the dust protection and all these good things. So let me get all of that moving. See, like these are all the boring things you don't get to see when you just watch an edited woodworking video. Because, you know, they've already done all these things and left them on the editing room floor for you not to have to watch. Unfortunately, you're not so lucky when you're in my shop. You get to watch the whole ugly process. All right, I'm going to flatten this one piece, and then we'll move on to flattening these pieces down here, just these two. This one's good. So got a little air. All right, that's basically all I wanted to do was get this flat. So now it is flattened parallel to this surface right here. And now I can start cutting these into triangles when I need to for making corner pieces. So this is more of that red oak. So it's really pretty. You can see all the medullary rays in there. Look at that. So pretty. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to do this nonsense. Let's get this. I got to readjust the depth here so we get this at the right height. Might be. Try that. Okay, let's try this one. And then I think this one is a little lower. Yeah, so we'll send both of these through. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to grab my depth gauge or my little measuring gauge here. And because I don't want to, obviously I don't want to go too thin, but we're super fine there. That's 0.38. So we're 0.38 inches. My depth on this, once again, is 0.224. On most of these, it should be. Let me check it again. 0.25. I'm going to check one of these. Sorry for leaning in front of you, but I need to check them. 0.2365. So they're off a little bit in each place, but 0.25. So I just want to make sure that I've got enough depth that I'm not going to go too small here. I'm pretty good here. I can take off a few more bites. So let's go ahead and just a little bit more here. It's easier work doing it now than it is doing it later. That's what I can say. So one of the problems, hopefully you can hear me, one of the problems when you're book matching is, yeah, I'm still pretty flush here, is that the grain on each side of the seam that you glue together is running in opposite directions. Because it's all running together, but when you flip it, now it's running one direction and the other direction, and running it through a planer or a jointer or something like that, you definitely get the chance of getting some chip out. And the problem I have, well, it's not a problem, but if I had a helical cutter head that cuts and shears those cuts, it would be a lot cleaner. But because I don't, and I have a flat blade, I'm more susceptible to getting tear out. And I don't know if you can see, I'll show you right here. See this area right in here? And hopefully you can see that there's some tear out in this area right here. And like I said, it's just because the wood, now over here it's fine, but over here I'm getting a little tear out because it's running in an opposite direction. And then down here I've got a little tear out on this end, but no tear out on this side. So it's just one of those things. The same with this little piece right here. I got tear out up here, but no tear out over here. So you just kind of have to work with it and try to get it as best you can. I think I'm going to go a little bit more because honestly, I don't want to have to plane this thing or use a hand plane to get that much wood off of there. So I'm going to do a little bit more on here just to get a little bit closer. Okay, that's about as close as I want to get right now. So I'm gonna push this out of the way. I don't want to push my luck, at least for the time being. So I've got them pretty close to where I want them to be. I've got two pieces here. I'm gonna just get one piece out of this one. I'm gonna take two of them out. I just like the way this looks. I'm gonna get two out of this one right here. And then obviously one out of this one. I've got four of these things that need them. So I'm going to move these over here to make it easier for me to measure. And also I need to use the table saw as well, right? So, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to figure out, okay, how wide does this need to be? So what I can do is take my calipers here and I can get a super accurate measurement on the inside of this. So 0.458 and do it both ends, 0.46. So obviously 0.46 is wider and I want to be at that widest point. So 0.46. This is much wider than 0.46. So the thing is, what I need to do is figure out how wide I want to make it. Let me get these things off my head. How wide do I want to make it? And then I need to divide that in half because that's going to tell me how much to cut off of in. So 0.46, obviously I'm going to have 0.23 on each side of that seam. And then whatever's left on each end from that 2.3 inches is what I cut off. Does that make sense? Maybe not. It will in a minute, hopefully. So let's take this over here. Whoa, that was almost very tragic. I almost dumped my laptop on the floor. That would have been just not good. I'm going to set it back here for the moment. And I turned my volume on there. Hang on a second. Where's my volume here? Turn my volume off. Boop. There we go. Yeah, that was a good save on my part. I do not need to be buying a new laptop right now. Okay, more stable. Jeez almighty, that was a scare. Okay, I'm going to measure this one more time. 0.46 is where I'm at. So 0.23 on each side, or 2.3, sorry. So I'm going to put this to 2.3. Right there. So I've got this at 2.3. And then I need to find my center seam. And I can see exactly how much I need to knock off of this thing, which is not much at all. I'm really close on this one. Whew. The other thing I can do, this is kind of cool. I've got a ruler here. Sorry, I'm reaching right in front of you, but this ruler right here, it's a woodpecker woodworking scale, but it's a center scale. So it's a standard scale and a center scale. So standard scale, if you work from this end, goes from 0 all the way down to 24. It's a 2-foot scale, right? But it also starts at 0 right in the middle and works out equally from there on out to the edges. So it's 12 inches on each side, which means I can put this on a center line, like 0 on my glue line here, and then figure out exactly where I need to be. Now, 2/3 inches is 19/64. Yeah, that's not going to work for me. I can't do 64ths on here. So let me try till I get to the closest 16th. 16th, maybe? 5/16. 2 and 5/16. We're going to go 2 and 5/16. I'm going to get my ruler here, pencil. I'm going to put that 0 right on the seam. Go over here so you can see. So I'm going to put the 0 right on the seam. Sorry, I can't zoom in on this more, but you'll get the idea. So I put the 2 and 5/16. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. And I'm going to mark that line right here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, 2 and 5/16. So 4, 5/16. And that is exactly how much I need to take off of this. Now, the other thing I can do is I could bring it down farther, flip it around, do the same thing down here, and I can connect those lines. So get my 0 lined up on the seam, 2 and 5/16 on here, and on here. Okay, and then if I want to, I can connect these lines and you'll see just exactly how much I have to shave on each side, which is not much. I'm going to just say not much at all. So this one, I trimmed this one down pretty close to where it needed to be. I probably went a little too close, but it worked. It worked out. So I can show you on the edge here, you can just see, hopefully you can see that there is a pencil line that runs just to the inside of that. And there's another one right here, just to the inside of that edge. What I will do is take this over to the table saw and just trim off those edges, because my whole point is to keep, that's a shame. It's not really equal anymore. It's shaved off the appearance here. Dang. Oh well, it'll still be kind of cool looking. So not as cool as it was before. I lost some of that in the planer. That's a shame. I didn't really think about that, but it is what it is. So let me set this up. Now to trim this little edge off here, I'm going to put my saw blade here and get this set up. You're like, I don't see you on the saw blade. I know, I'm sorry. Here we go. And still don't see me. Let me fix my camera angles. I'm moving around a lot today, so I tried to get these cameras set, but I can't set it for every particular place I'll be working, unfortunately. There we go. So I'm going to get it so it just cuts inside of there. And I need to get the power and I need the vacuum hookup and all that good stuff. So give me just a second to get that hooked up. Put the dust collection in, get the power cord, plug in the table saw, and then we can make this first cut. The hard part about trimming these down is you can't just set your fence to whatever thickness you need, because you have to trim off of each side of the board. And that makes it a little bit trickier. But anyway, let me grab my ears here. Let's go ahead and make this first cut. Okay, I got that first side done. Now I have to do the same thing with the second side here, is get this kind of lined up with the blade so that it's going to cut off just a little bit. I mean, I'm less than 1/8 of an inch on this. So right there. Okay, the way that I check this is I just bring the base over and then I just check to see if this is going to fit inside. Now, I'm experiencing weirdness now. So I may have just screwed that whole thing up there, but not like uncorrectably, but I have no idea what's going on here. Let me check this. Why is that not right? Go back to metric here, or to my inches here. Zero this out. What is my width here? 4.0. 4.4. I did 4.6, I think. Yeah, it's 4.46, which would be 2.23. So we need to go 2.23. So I screwed up a little bit. Not much. So we have to trim a little bit more off of here. And I have to convert this into I'm going to convert this into fractions. So 15/64 is not going to help me out. Let's go back to, I need a 16th out of here somewhere. 2 1/4. So that should make this just about, what is that? 4 1/2? Yeah, so 2 1/4. That'll be easy for me to figure out. Let me get my pencil back here. Ow, that little teeny piece of wood fired off of that thing and hit me in the arm. So, all right. Bring my little ruler back here, put it back. 0. Figure out 2 1/4 here. Not much. I have to trim just a little bit. It seems like more than that off of there. Seems like I would be trimming more than that. But you know, here's the thing. I can always shave more off. I can't always get this side. I can't take off. I can't add wood back. I can always shave more off. Okay. All right, let's do another cut. And then you can actually use the box itself to find where I want this edge to go to. Okay, let's try it and see. There we go. And it fits. So basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for fit. I mean, it doesn't have to be super tight because you have to figure this is going to get finished. It's going to get sprayed lacquer on the lid. It's going to get sprayed lacquer on the edges. So it'll build up a little bit of thickness on here, and you have to allow for that in order for it to be. So a little bit of looseness in here, not a bad thing. And then what we'll do is we'll go over to the chop saw and we will do the length on these things in just a moment. But we're working on the width right now. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the chop saw first because I have to cut these down. These need to get cut down into useful pieces. I can't, I don't want to trim them all to the same width because each individual box is different by, you know, a 1/16 or a 32nd of an inch. So let's see, this one, I'm going to cut this one in half. And then, because my bases, my length on these things is basically 7 1/4 inches. I've got, these things are 17 inches long. So if I cut it in half, that gives me lots of wiggle room here. All right. So I'm going to come over here and just at 17 or so, and that would be what, 8 1/2 inches. So we're just going to make a cut that's 8 1/2 inches. Oh, nope, sorry, 8 1/2. So we're going to cut this in half, 8 1/2 inches. And that gives me the width to use on this one. I'm just having all kinds of fun today knocking stuff off. All right, 8 1/2 right there. This other one, I got to find out where I want the piece to come out of here because I don't want, obviously there's knot holes in here and I don't want the knot holes in there. I think I want it to kind of come up from the knot holes. So I will trim off one edge here, like right at the bottom, I think. Yeah, do it at the bottom. And then from there, I'll measure up about, I don't know, we'll just say 9 inches. It just gives me lots of room to play with. And then we can come back and cut these to the exact size I need. All right. Means I need power. Once again, the almighty power cord gets shifted around. I just don't have enough outlets to go around. So power just needs to move from one place to the other. Some stuff is plugged in all the time, like my computer and my bandsaw and my jointer, but some things just, you know, I just have to move the power around. All right, I'm gonna cut this one right in the middle of that. I'm just looking to line that up, and well, let's just do this. It's not gonna be that much dust. It's a quick cut. So there's 2 right there. Let's get this other one cut here. So not much to do with this one. Flat. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Now we have shorter pieces. We can go back to the table saw once again and start getting these down to the width they need to be. Moving the power. Enjoy the journey from one station to the other. All right. Checking the stream. Very quiet today. Everybody's very quiet today. All right. I need to start measuring these, getting these cut down. This one, I'm going to move to the side for the moment. Let's come back to here and start measuring this one. So at this end, it's just under 7/16, 4 7/16, just under 4 7/16. So if I said 4 3/8, I think that would be pretty accurate there. So 4 3/8, which means I would need to be 4 3/8. What would I want to be on that? So that's 6/16, right? So 3/16, so 2 3/16. So I'm going to find my middle seam here. I'm going to find it over here because it's a little bit fine. There we go. 2 3/16. 2 3. Now I'm going to measure the same thing over here just so that I can kind of look at the box and make sure that, excuse me, that kind of lines up with what I want. So I can look at those pencil marks and see that that's pretty darn close. Okay, so we're going to get this first one cut here. Going to line this back up with my saw blade. All right, let's give that a try. Why not? Now we will take this edge that is cut here. We will see if we can get a mark on here. Okay. So that should be, if I measure this zero line here, if I can find the zero line. Yep. All right, let's get this one lined up. Like I said, I'd rather go a little bit wide. I can always just trim a little bit down with my hand plane. So, all right, let's try it. Yeah. Okay. It's a little wider than I'd like, or a little bit less wide than I'd like here, but it's okay. Let me try the other ones here just to see. Really loose on that one. Yeah. Not my favorite, but it'll do. All right. I'm going to go a little wider the next time. Grab another box. Measure this one. That one didn't work out as tight as I want. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not as tight. So this one's almost 4.5. So I'm going to say 2 1/4, and then I can shave it down. That's, I think, the best way to go. 2 1/4. We'll shave it down. You measure that again, just to be sure. 4.5. It's a little less than 4.5. So if I go 2 1/4, that makes it a little bit big, and that's okay. Quarter. Same thing on this side. If I can find that seam. Ugh. Sometimes the seam hides on you. You do a really good glue job, it can be difficult to find that. Okay. Try this one. I can see my pencil mark here is also hard on walnut sometimes. Okay. Now, we should be at 4 1/4 here. That seems like much there. Where's my pencil mark? 4.5 is what I said, right? Oh, there's my pencil mark. Okay. Okay, this one is just a hair, a little tight. So tell you what we're going to do. We're going to come back over here to here, and I'm going to just shave off a little off of the sides here. Oh, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to shave off a little off of here. And I'm going to bring this box over here just to get my fit. So I'm just going to put this flat on top of here and make a pass. Very tight. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Let's try that. That's a nice fit. Still a little tight. Well, it depends on which end I put in here, but it's a little tight down on one end here. So what I might do is just kind of give a little bit of extra love down to this end right here. That's nice. That's nice. All right. That one's good. Now we just need this last one over here. Let's go back over to this side. That's why I said I'd rather go a little large. I can always trim it down using the hand plane and dial in the fit. If you overshoot and go too skinny, well, you just kind of settle with what you got. Let's see what we got here. See, this one's way under 4.5 here. I don't say way under, but it's a full 16th under. So, which makes it hard because that's like a, instead of 2 1/4, let me put this back here. It's like a 32nd under 2 1/4, some weird thing like that. Let me find my center. God, this center mark is really hard to find on here. And in fact, I think I'm going to draw it with my pencil just to make it easier to find. just so I can see that with my ruler here, so I can get this lined up. Okay, so instead of 2 1/4, we're going to come in a little under that, a little under 2 1/4. And see if that does the trick for us. And finding my pencil marks. Wow, so hard to see these things sometimes. Walnut is a beautiful and pain in the ass piece of wood to work with at times. Well, there's a reason. They make actually like white pencils for working with dark colored woods. So you can actually buy pencils that are made to draw on things like walnut. Because if you work with dark colored wood, using a pencil, not always the best solution. You just measure that again here. Okay. Do what we do. All right, so we said that we were under 4 1/2, right? Go the right way. Under 4 1/2 by at least 1/16 of an inch, which means I'm going to take this one down. Saw blades up here. 4 1/2 by 16. This should put me right about home. Should. And that looks about right. Okay, let's try it. All right, let's see where we got here. Oh, look at that. Well done, sir. Well done. All right. So all of the length or all of the width of these are done. That's probably the most challenging part because like I said, you've got to keep, hopefully you can see, we're keeping this center seam right in the middle so that when it sits in there, it'll make a really cool looking lid like that, right? So we're trying to keep that seam in the middle. And that, like I said, is the most challenging part because you have to do equal cuts off the side and blah, blah, blah. It's you know, is what it is. Now we need to cut the width of these things, or the length of them, however you want to refer to that. So we're going to move over to the chop saw for this part, and I'm going to actually set up my dust collection. We're going to do more cutting over on the miter saw, so I'm just going to put my dust collection in here now because I don't want to throw too much dust out in the area with this thing. Oh. Okay, sorry, quick cleanup over there. Now we need to do a little bit more measuring on these things, figure out how long the C-speed. So we're basically going to cut off one end, and let me start with that. So I'm going to cut one end off here, and let me, once again, I'm going to move things around so that you have a little bit better view of what's going on. Try to keep you in the loop here, best I can. There we go. Okay, So I need one square side here. So we're going to cut one square side to start with. And that means I'm just going to trim off the excess off of one edge here is all I'm going to do. You know what I'm going to do first though? I'm going to grab power because once again. Okay. Power to the rescue. Here we go. Don't mind my horrible singing. All right, here we go. We now have one nice clean square edge, and we can bring that back over here. Clean it up a little bit. There we go. So now what we're looking at is the length this way. We've already got the width on these set, so it sets in like this. Now we need the length. So we need to figure out how long do we need to cut this. And that's pretty easy to do. You just get a ruler and you measure it. And it looks like I am at 7 1/8 inches. So I'm going to move this to the side for a second here, just to kind of declutter. I'm going to measure from my straight edge here to 7 1/8 inches, like this. And get my square. And draw a line. So we are 7 1/8 inches. So right there is my line. I'm just going to go trim that off. Then we'll check the fit. And then once we get all these cut to length, then I have to start rounding the corners, which means we need to go over and reconfigure my planer so that it's in circular sander mode. Okay. That's a fuzz on these. Come back here. Bring this back in the picture here. And what we got is, check it this way. So it fits this way. It fits this way, fits this way. The only thing we have to do now is round the corners. That one's done. Let's go back and just cruise through. I'm going to cut a square edge off on this one. Then we'll measure this box. Now you notice I always keep them with the box they go in because you don't want to confuse these things. Because they are custom fit to each base. So you don't want to lose track of which one goes with which. Because see, this one fits perfectly in here, but it may not fit in one of the others. So now we just have to measure this one. This one's a little longer than 7 1/8. Just like a smidge over. A smidge would be like a 32nd. That's what I call a smidge. But not much. Okay. And I'm using I'm going to measure from, well, this is the edge I just cut down. Let's see who's straight here. Yeah, they're both pretty straight, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to, oh God, you're right in my ear hole there. Sorry about that. 7 and just a smidge over 1/8. Okay. All right, cut this down, check it out, move on. So this moves pretty quick. Now, if it's too short, I can always go back and just give a little bit of a trim on the saw. This is just a little short. Let's go back here and do a little trim here. That was just a little teeny tiny trim. And I'm going to check that it's still just a little tight, just a tiny bit tight. So we're going to give it just a little bit more on the trim compartment here. All right. And all I do is I bring the blade down, I push, so I bring the blade down and I push the wood into the flat part of the blade like this. So then when I raise the saw up, the teeth are actually going to contact that piece of wood now because the teeth stick out a little bit more than the flat part of the blade. That's a good way to shave off like a 30-second or something like that. So let's check this again. Okay, we're good now. We're good. That one's good. This one's good. Last one. And then we get to pull out the magic nickel. The what? The magic nickel. You don't know about the magic nickel? That's how I round the corners. Why did you turn off? Things turn, hang on a second, I gotta reset something. Reset that. All right, oh, first things first, trim this down really quickly. We're just gonna trim an edge. We're going to measure this base over here, this base. Ooh, 7 3/16, my, and then almost 7 3/16. They're not quite square here. So that's a challenge. We're going to go 3/16 on here, and then I'll shave it down. I will shave it down to meet our needs. I'm going to go let's try that. Make sure I get the right pencil marker. There it is. Okay. All righty. Let's see what it looks like. See what it looks like. I have the feeling this is going to be a little long. Just a little bit of shaving. Ooh, not much, but it is just a tad on the longish side. Just a tad. I mean, this side actually fits right here, but over here, not quite. And I can't really plane this off because it would chip out. I mean, I could try a little bit. Let me try it really quick here. If I go this way, maybe I can just take some off of this corner, right? I don't know if that's working really well, but let's see. Still just a tad tight. I'm just going to shave just a hair off over at the saw, just a tiny bit, and give it just a little bit of a haircut here. think that's probably enough to make that work. Yep, that'll work. Okay. Moving on, let me empty this. Moving on. So now that we have these, oh, take the ears off. Oh, my head. I don't know, man. I think I reviewed these the other day. Whew. I don't know if I'm gonna, I don't know. Not super happy. They're just so tight and they hurt on the top of the head. I don't know. People say I've got a soft spot in my head anyway, so probably not untrue. All right, I'm gonna grab my little nickel here. So I have a regular old TJ nickel, and the reason I use this is because the radius of this matches the radius of my rabbeting bit. So when I cut these rabbet grooves in here, when I cut this little rabbet cut in here, this nickel exactly matches that radius up in that corner. And so when I want to come and get these set up, well, I have to get those corners shaved off. And in order to know exactly how much to shave off, I use this nickel and I just draw the radius on there. And then I take it over to my disc sander and just sand down to that line. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not, because it's really hard to see pencil on here. Can you see that pencil mark on there? I just put the pencil on there and you can't even see it. It's so hard to see. Anyway, trust me when I tell you there's a pencil mark on there. You may be able to see it. Sometimes I can't, in my monitor, I can't see exactly as good as you're seeing. So, but this is by far the easiest way to get these to fit. I think it looks more elegant than trying to chop the corners out and make them square. I just find that the rounded corners look nicer, especially since the box themselves get a nice round over on the corners. That'll probably be Friday we will do that. We can do the round over on the corners. I mean, I can do the round over pretty much at any time before I do finishing. It's not really linked to any other processes. I will tell you though that usually I like to wait on the round over until I put the corner pillars in. And the reason for that is, I'll just kind of explain real quick. So when I have these corners to put in, they get glued in like this. And in order to clamp them, I have to come across the face of it with a clamp. And I've made these little clamping calls that I cut a little 45 in them, so it fits flat on this side. And then you can clamp across. If these are rounded, they don't hold as well. They can kind of shift. So having these nice 90-degree corners works really well for gluing these things in. And that's the only reason I would do that. All right, I've got these 4 marked. I'm gonna go ahead and mark these up so I can just kind of make it happen. And then I can just go over to the sander and do them all at one time and then check the fit. A lot of times after I'm done, if I need any fine tuning, I do that by hand over here at the bench anyway, with a plane and a piece of sandpaper usually. So it usually doesn't require a lot of fine tuning at this point. The big thing is just getting these corners shaved down. The big thing will be being able to see this pencil mark on this walnut. It's crazy walnut. All right, is that 4? That's 4 on this one. And like I said, I'm just trying to keep them in their respective boxes as I go, so that, I mean, obviously the sycamore one's easy to spot. Don't even trouble telling which one that goes in, but the other one's not so much. So, oh, it's at 84 degrees in here today. Golly, man. I mean, I'm not opposed to summer, but whew, it does get a little spicy hot in here. I'm just gonna say, a little warm in here. The later in the day, I try to get most of my work done before 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because that's when it really starts to get cooking. Like I'll come back here in the afternoon, it'll be 87, 88 degrees in here in the workshop. And I mean, I've got some fans blowing, but you know, at that point you're just blowing hot air around. So everybody said, well, why don't you put an air conditioner in? Have you priced like air conditioning units to go into what? First of all, you can't just like, I don't have a window, so I can't like just put a window air conditioning unit in because there's no window here for it to fit in. And the ones that go up in the wall and stuff, well, they actually have outside condenser units and stuff, and they're not cheap. And then you have to go knocking holes in the walls and everything else, and then you need to basically be sealing your garage. And I still open my garage doors and stuff, so I don't know which way I really want. I've got a hole in this one. It's like a little wormhole. I'm going to fill that with some. And there's a couple of them on this side. So I'm going to fill those. I'll let you get a little close so you can see there's one on this side and one on this side. I actually have some black CA glue that I will use to fill those with, and then it'll just sand flat. And I'll probably do that after I get these flattened down to their appropriate size. But I'm kind of disappointed the way this, I lost part of my design over here. I'm very sad. It was looking really cool, but it is what it is. It'll still look nice. And someone will appreciate it and someone will buy it. Speaking of which, I sold another base today. I've got it out in the mailbox, which is nice. So if you are going to be mailing anything, you sell anything, whatever, you're going to mail stuff, let me give you a little hint here. Do your postage at home. Don't go to the post office to do your postage. Do your priority package stuff. It's just as cheap. It's actually cheaper to do it at home. You get a discount for actually pre-doing your stuff at home. You don't have to wait in line at the post office with all the other people who don't know how to use a computer. And if you do have multiple packages that like won't fit in your mailbox for the mailman to pick up, you can still go to the post office, but you don't have to stand in line. You just walk up and drop them off because it's already paid for. There's nothing for them to do except put it in the pile of stuff to go out. That's what I do with my stuff. And I can tell you what, not only does it save me money, but it saves me time, it saves me headaches. Like sometimes if I have 3 or 4 and I don't want to go to the post office, I'll just wait, put them by the front door, listen for the mailman. And then I will walk out and hand them to him. And he's happy to take them from me, so. But yeah, print your own shipping. You can buy labels to print them on. I mean, it's just a print. Everybody has a printer. I mean, you can't tell me you don't have a printer. In this day and age, everybody has a printer at home, right? If not, it's about 40 bucks for an Epson or a Canon printer at Walmart. But anyway, really, if you want to save a few bucks, start printing your labels and your mail and just your postage and stuff. Print it at home. You will save so much money in the long run. And time's money, right? Your time's worth something. The time you have to go and stand at the post office behind 20 other people who also don't know how to use their computer and print stuff, it's worth it. So if you have a PayPal account, you can actually ship right through your PayPal account. I don't know if you know that or not, and you get a discount. You go to paypal.com/shipnow, all one word, ship now, and it'll put you into the shipping page, and you can pick your shipping stuff, how big your package is, how much it weighs, all that good stuff. So you can do it right through PayPal. You can actually get an account on the post office. You can go to stamps.com and open an account. There's a lot of different ways, but the bottom line is I highly recommend printing your own shipping labels, paying for your own shipping at home. Like I said, A, you get a discount, and B, it's just way more convenient in the long run. Of course, now that's for people here in the US. I have no idea what everybody else does for postal services. So that's just if you're a US postal customer and you ship things. I mean, obviously, if all you do is ship out a letter or something, then no, go buy stamps at your grocery store and be done with it. But if you're doing packages, you really should be doing your own shipping labels. All right, let's get this hooked up and round some corners. This will be the last part of this section. What time is it? 12:50. We're doing good here. What am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for a camera for you all to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to change this camera around once again. Wow, I've moved this camera all over the place today. You know what? Sometimes that's just the way we are. We're just all over this place. I did get someone who said, hey, move your camera, move your camera. I said, which one? I've got multiples. But I try to make it as easy for y'all to see what I'm doing as possible. It's not always easy, but I try. All right, I'm going to hook up the dust collection on this. It's not super dusty, but you know, every little bit that we keep out of the air is a little bit we don't have to breathe. So, okay, I've got this one. I need hearing protection, more for the vacuum. This thing's pretty quiet. I mean, here. It's kind of loud when it spins up, but then it gets quiet. But the dust collection's kind of loud, so. All right, here we go. Okay, so that was the first one. I'm going to put you over here for a second. I'm going to clean that up just a little bit here. And I just want you to see what that looks like. When I test fit it, I'm just knocking some of the fuzz off, and then every now and then I just get a little bit of a flat corner, and I just want to like that. Okay, so here is sycamore. Take this, set it in. Look at that, just like that. There's our base lid, just like that. And then, I mean, it sticks up a little. It's a little thicker, right? So I need to flatten it down, but now it's just a matter of using the hand plane pretty much and getting that flattened down. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? These are a little harder to see. These are those ones on the wall, or the walnut, and yeah, I have to kind of really pay attention to these. Great, there it is. What the hell? Okay, I've discovered something really weird here. I don't know how I did this, but it's me, so there's no telling. So I was like, oh, cool, I got this all done, and I went to go put it in here, and I was like, well, it doesn't fit. What the hell? I for whatever reason, I didn't cut the end of this off. So, time to cut the end off. Doggone it. I'm such an idiot sometimes. I am not the wisest person in the world sometimes. All right, well, we need to cut this down. This definitely needs to get cut down. It's a little tight from this side right here. So I'm going to trim this down just a hair. What the heck was I thinking? Or was I not thinking? You know, sometimes you just can't win for losing. Hang on a second. This needs to get shaved down a little bit on this end. Oh, my goodness gracious. What in the world was I doing? Okay, I need to measure this and cut it down. I don't know how that happened. Honestly, I do not. 7 1/8 inches. Let's just do this. That just, oh my God, what in the world? Where's my brain? Where is my brain? It's definitely not engaged. That is for certain. I apologize. I apologize. I'm not usually this checked out, but wow, that was just completely mental. So I'm gonna cut this off over at the saw. And I thought that was a little long when I was grabbing it. I was like, that seems awfully big. We're gonna cut this off at the saw. And then I need to draw my corners round again. And yeah, so give me just a second here. Here, you can watch on the numero uno camera as I walk over here and just trim this down real quick. It's not a great view, but it's better than nothing, right? There we go. That's all there is to that. That should now fit. It does. It does. Need my nickel back in relation to the band. Let's draw these last corners here. Wow. I'm really trying to figure out what happened there. I really have no clue why I totally blanked on making this one shorter, unless I just got off my rhythm. All right, let's get this over here. Draw some nice corners here. Nice radii. Is that how you say that? Plural, radius, radii. Let's go turn this back on and do this one last time. Okay. Ta-da, look at that. Just like it's supposed to fit. I am a little bit of an idiot, but what can I say? I mean, at least it was just like a little simple fix, right? It wasn't like some horrible, oh my gosh, how are we gonna recover from this big gigantic mistake kind of thing. It was just a little, it was a little oops. So there we go. It's in there. These look really nice. They still, like I said, I've still got some flattening to do. You can see this one just a little bit above this side. It's a little taller over here. So this edge a little taller. And generally what I will do, now I think what I need to do with these is spend a little time honing my honing my plane, because I don't know that I want to plane on this without sharpening my blade, because you see I'm already catching right here and tearing. Now, it may go perfectly fine this way, I don't know. See, each side you cut, it's like you never know what you're going to get in terms of shavings. But generally, what I do is I just take these down, and I'll probably end up having to flip these back and forth. Whew, I do not want to chip any wood off of there. Yeah, these are going to be really tough to do. And before I destroy any pieces of wood, I'm probably going to sharpen this plane up a lot. I'm going to get it razor sharp, because honestly, this wood is going to be challenging. You can see, let me show you right here, just that little bit that I went across there. You can see where I was starting to get a little tear out and stuff right in here. And you want to avoid that. I mean, I can always come through. I've got a cabinet scraper, and I can always come through with a cabinet scraper and clean things up, so to speak. But that's like the last thing you want to do is a cabinet scraper, as you can't use a cabinet scraper to get thickness down. And what I might do is get these a little closer over on the jointer. I might joint them down a little bit more just to get them as close as I can. So I've got maybe like less than a 1/16 of an inch to work with. And then use the plane, get the plane super sharp, which means I got to get the stones out and do all that stuff. But it's probably due. I've done a lot of work with this since I've sharpened it last. And but that's probably going to be the thing that takes me the longest, is getting these things flat. And if it's just a regular piece of wood on here, it's not a big deal. But depending on the piece of wood and which way that grain is oriented, it can definitely be a pain in the rear. So right now I've got this kind of angled, so it's more of a shearing motion, but I can still hear a little bit of tearing in some of these areas. It's not bad though, that feels pretty good. So that feels pretty good. And this one might survive flattening with the hand plane. The walnut ones, they're really beautiful and they're really highly figured, and I do not want to mess that up. So in order to maintain their pristineness, I will probably do, well, like I said, be as gentle with them as possible, even if I'm using the hand plane. This is normally how I do it though. I'll just sit here and shave off just like this and just keep shaving off bits until I get it down to a flattened state where it's flush with the rest of this. And just kind of work my way across. Some of these edges are higher, like this is a little higher than this edge, so I might spend a little more time over here. Oh, yeah, I definitely need to sharpen this thing. But this wood is much softer than that walnut is, so it's going to cut a little bit easier, even though it's figured. It's being more cooperative than the walnut is. And I could probably get this down in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not taking a huge shaving off here. You can see it's pretty thin, but it's a nice wide cut, right? But I don't think I'll be that lucky with that walnut, because it's definitely going to give me some trouble. You got to really put your weight into this too. So that's where having a sharper tool would really come in handy. Because it would slice through just a little bit easier. This side's almost down. I say that, and then I go feel a little higher, and it's not. So, also, gotta say, doing this in the heat, not great. I will be sweating buckets here any minute. Now, the other thing I could do is put a clamp in here to keep this from bucking like it is right now. But that's really the least of my worries. This one's actually working out pretty well. If need be, I can come through and just clean some of that surface with this. I probably need to put a new edge on this as well, because it's been a while since I've used that. But that's pretty much the process that I'll be going through with the rest of these, is getting this piece of wood flattened down till it meets the edge along here. The other thing that I have to do, which I have not done that yet, is make a finger hole, because once this is flush, it gets really hard to actually remove this lid. Like right now, I can catch a fingernail and lift it. Once it's flush, it's a little harder to do that. So what I do is I put a little semicircular hole in it right at the top. And once again, I bring back Mr. Nickel, draw a little half circle on there, take it over to the bandsaw and just kind of nibble that wood away, and then smooth it out with, I've got a spindle sander. I just kind of smooth out the circular cut. And that just gives a nice finger hole to lift these out with. This one's pretty close. I'm maybe a 32nd of an inch away from having this one done. And then also it's like, it's not perfectly flat. I can feel higher spots in the middle where I need to spend a little bit more time with it. But I think before I get down to those finishing strokes on this one, I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen this. I'm not gonna make you watch me sharpen it. I've done it on camera before. So I'm not going to make you watch me sharpen it. Let me grab my computer. Not that there's anybody engaged in the computer chat sessions right now. But, ooh, my battery's really low too. There was a network error. Why was there a network error? I may not have been monitoring my stream because it said there was a network error. So if you were in the stream, I apologize. It says I only have one person in the stream right now anyway. That's me. Why is that such a low res picture? That's really crappy. Hopefully that's not something that everybody's seeing, is that low res Twitch stream. Everybody else looks really good. No, Facebook, YouTube, they both look fine. I'm not sure why Twitch looks like garbage, but it does. Kind of crappy looking. So it's like I want to, let me turn that off and try it. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it's better now. I have no idea what was going on there. It's like connecting to chat. Anyway, that's the process where I'm at right now. I'm gonna spend a little time sharpening my tools so that it's not as much work for me to do this, and I can get cleaner cuts. And by tools, I mean the planer and my cabinet scraper, because I will use both of them, especially on figured wood. If I get a little tear out, the cabinet scraper is great for cleaning that up. If it's just a little spot of tear out, The cabinet scraper works really well for that. For removing the wood and getting it down to size, obviously, I'm going to use something like my hand plane. If it's really thick, like a couple of these were more than 1/16 of an inch, I might make a couple of passes on the jointer just to shave off a little bit more, get it a little bit closer, and give me a little less work to do with the hand plane. But that's kind of where I'm at on that. So I think, what are we at? 1:15. That's probably a good place to put a pin in it for the day. And I just have to make sure that when my closing scene pops up and the music starts, that it's... I actually had a... it wasn't a strike, but it was a copyright claim the other day, because normally the music that plays at the beginning of my stream and the end of my stream is copyright-free music. I use Stream Beats from Harris Heller, and I stream it through Spotify. It's absolutely free, and it's free to use, and there's no copyright strikes or anything. So it's really cool. He gets paid because I'm listening to it through my Spotify, so he actually gets paid for it, and I get to use it because it's there as copyright free. But for whatever reason, I had been listening to an 80s playlist on another computer or something, and Spotify likes to connect all of your devices together so you can seamlessly move from one to the other. So for whatever reason, when it went to jump at the end, it was playing Erasure. And like that 1 minute clip of the end scene with Erasure playing got me a copyright claim. I was like, doggone it. And it was fast too. It was like maybe a minute or two later, that sucker had a copyright claim on it already. I was like, doggone. I mean, I don't get really any money from these anyway. It's not like I have thousands of people watching my live streams. And they're not going to, they said, this is not a copyright strike. This just means that they may collect some or all of the money that you generate from this. I'm like, well, it seems like a 2.5 hour stream that they would take all the revenue I would generate from 60 seconds of audio. That seems a little extreme. I'm all for people getting the money they're owed. As a photographer in one of my past lives, and I sell my photography and I have stock photo stuff and everything else, I am all about people getting paid for the work that they produce. Absolutely. And that includes musicians who make music and who should get paid for that. I do think, just like radio stations and things like that, where it's a revenue splitting instead of a revenue taking or a complete shutdown. The music industry are complete assholes and morons when it comes to this. Pardon my French. Sony Music and all these others, they have no idea what the hell they're doing, because they could be generating a lot more revenue for their artists and for themselves, but they will actually do like takedown notices off of music that they own the rights to, which is ridiculous. Because if someone is giving your music exposure, you should at least do revenue sharing with them. Even if you're taking the lion's shares, take 75% and give them 25, right? If you're getting more ears listening to your music, you might actually get more people looking to buy the music or listen to it in other places where you get more revenue, instead of having copyrights where they'll just be like, oh, we had to mute your entire video because of this 30-second audio clip that you played. And now no one is hearing that music. That music is dying on the vine because no one's listening to it. And you won't let anybody share it, and you won't let anybody do anything with it, even if it's to share the revenue. How stupid can you be? Sony, BMG, all these other people. Sorry, that's a rant. I understand artists needing to get paid. Because like I said, I don't want somebody grabbing my photos and using them for their own commercial purposes and getting paid and me not getting any revenue off of that. That's not fair. And it's the same thing with musicians. But instead of putting it out there to do revenue sharing and saying, hey, you know, we noticed that you used our song and we're going to be taking part of the revenue from that you earned because, you know, it's our property. And since you didn't have a license agreement, we're going to go ahead and take part of the money from it. it's just really weird and stupid the way they do things. So anyway, which is why Twitch, not Twitch, TikTok. TikTok is owned, I think, by Sony, who owns the license to all the music. So when you hear music on TikTok, and you're like, well, why aren't they getting hit with copyright strikes? Because Sony owns TikTok. So they have a license to use that music because they own the rights to that music on TikTok. So that's why when you hear music all over TikTok, and there's a lot of music on TikTok, that's why people can do that, because it's owned by Sony, who owns the music that is being used on TikTok. But Twitch, not so much. So, and YouTube and everybody else. So for that little tiny bit of Erasure, which I like Erasure. Erasure's, they're kind of happy and bouncy, and you know, it's good music. I wasn't planning on playing it. It was a mistake. I could go back and edit it out, I guess, and then reclaim that. But it's like, I just was amazed that they so quickly just, within like 60 seconds of my video ending, they had already identified that that music was in there. I didn't own the copyright to it, and then they were placing a claim against it. It's like, wow, that was crazy. So anyway, sorry, that was a rant at the end, and I didn't mean to rant at the end there. I just kind of totally was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, because it's not the artists. The artists would probably be happy to do revenue sharing and to have people listening to their stuff, not having the companies that own the rights to their music coming in and shutting people down. And there's also right to use kind of things, like all these people who go and teach how to play a song on the guitar, and then they get copyright strikes against them and stuff, or copyright claims against them. Well, you used our song. It's like, well, it's for educational purposes. And I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not doing this as a, you know, they're doing it to teach people. And it's like, well, you could either have people playing your music or not. Anyway, it's a debate. It's not one that we need to have here on a woodworking channel. So, all right, I think that's enough time for me today. It's hot. That's probably the heat that's getting to me. It's 85 degrees in here. It's the heat. I'm going to shut it down. We'll come back on Friday. Hopefully I will have these things down on Friday, and then we can start working on putting in corner pieces, because the next thing we have to do is we have to get corners inserted in here, and we have to round the edges. Those are the two big things left to do, and we'll bring all the other bases back into the process because they also need that. So all of them need corners, all of them need rounded edges, and from there it's just a bunch of finishing. So we're getting really close on these. We've made good progress. And I mean, there's a couple little things, little tweaks I need to do, but they're probably off-camera stuff that I don't need to share with you. One of them I might. It's kind of a fix. So anyway, Friday, have a good rest of your week. Have a great Thursday. Hopefully you'll come back, visit me on Friday. You can always find my videos on Facebook. You can find them on YouTube. There's a whole playlist on YouTube for my live streams. And Twitch, well, you get to see the last 5 because I'm not an affiliate. But anyway, they're there. So thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. I'm going to find a button to push here so I can end this thing and put you out of your misery. Take care.